First, wet your hands with clean, running water.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcast the Movie, the podcast. This is the episode that was meant to go out a few days ago, didn't come out a few days ago because we had some scheduling problems, and wouldn't you know it, we had some scheduling problems today. We're missing our very own Austin Newell, but he'll be back next week. In the meantime, though, with the hosts that are actually here and present and have my respect, I'm just kidding, Austin, I love you, Mr. Tyler Weiss.
What's up?
And Mr. Ruben
Hello.
Red Dead McCormick.
That's me, dude. I'm obsessed. I don't know what took me so long, but I'm a cowboy now.
Yeah, you know, he just been moseying about, you know, just doing some hunting out there in the woods.
I think I'm going to hit 30 hours today, and I've only been playing for like maybe 2 weeks.
30 hours? You've been playing for 30 hours. So, yeah.
It's impressive. That's impressive.
And
yeah, you know,
I think that's true for all of us, though.
I was just going to say, and I'm only level 20, so, you know, the game is going to take a while.
Yeah.
I'm exclusively playing multiplayer.
It's definitely got that grindy online
microtransaction.
Hey, you know, you can play the game, but you know what would really make it better is if you spend a little real life money. You know, it's got that thing going on.
I have yet
Ruben,
to do that.
Okay, Ruben hasn't spent any real money. All right,
I have not.
Good. I know, Logan, you haven't spent any real money yet, have you?
I don't believe in spending real money.
I don't believe in spending real money.
Granted, I purchased the game twice. I'd say 2.5 times.
You exclusively only spend Dogecoin?
Yes.
I only spend
straight
Dogecoin.
Okay.
Also.
Sounds good.
I actually did do a little Doge trading today because, you know, it's been a little wild today. If you guys have been keeping up with it, back up to 5 cents.
Don't remind me. I sold 80,000 Doge in November, and I just hate it. I hate thinking about it every time.
He's salty now. Now, anytime we talk about it, he's like, "I don't believe in it. It's not going to be worth it."
I didn't believe in it when I held 80,000 of them. I was like, it'd be funny if I make $100, and I made like $200.
There you go.
But here we are 3 months later.
No, you should.
It definitely is funny. It is really funny that you made $100, but in a different way.
It would be worth $6,000 if I waited 3 months. I hate you guys.
Or you wait another 3 months, and it'll be worth back down to that extra
back to where it was.
$100.
Yeah.
So
once Elon Musk gets sued.
Right? Yeah. I'm surprised he's actually given into some of that stuff with people trying to get him to tweet it out because, I mean, he could. You know, GameStop and Reddit aside, there's probably a legitimate case that he could have some manipulation thing going on. And then again, it's cryptocurrency, so I don't really know how that works.
Correct.
You know, I don't know if there's as many laws and stuff about that. But we talked about Wall Street last week, at least myself and Tyler did.
Absolutely.
It was a good time.
Episode talking about that stuff. You know, and a lot of that stuff is, you know, the conversations that we had, a lot of that stuff has come to fruition very recently. And I was actually reading a article on USA Today this morning, as a matter of fact, that posed the question of, are we in the middle of a second housing bubble? So there's lots of speculation that's out there right now that the housing market is going to crash again, and what would that do to the economy that we have right now, considering where we are financially in the middle of the pandemic? And it was a very interesting, very well-written article, very well-researched article. So we'll see how that all plays out. Yeah, man, it's we live in very weird times. We do. We live in very weird times.
The stink of 2020 is lingering.
It's weird.
It is. It's lingering.
Well, it's
almost
not like that. You know,
an arbitrary cutoff point doesn't actually change the
That's
world.
weird.
Imagine
yeah.
that.
Arbitrary.
Yeah, wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah. Hey, but no. The year is over, so all the bad things that came with that year, they automatically end, and you know,
new year,
new year, new me. Absolutely,
it's the way it works.
Yeah, of course,
it's the way it works.
No, I just.
So, what have you guys? You know, we were going to be watching Minority Report this episode.
Yep.
So you know, I feel like I watched that forever ago now at this point, but we've had a little bit of extra time. Tell me what you guys have been watching.
Well-
What else you guys been looking at out there?
So there is one thing that I want to talk about that I'm going to make Austin very,
Here we
very,
go.
very mad about. Hey, you guys watch Mission Impossible 3?
I watched Mission Impossible once. I finished it about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So you guys got me on that train.
Yeah. So I was actually, Ruben and I were having a conversation right before we started recording the podcast of, I just picked up all the Mission Impossible movies. And for those of you guys who do not know, I have been down a little under the weather.
Tyler Weiss has COVID, is what he's trying to say.
I have been under the weather. Oh my God. If you guys, I wish you guys could see what I see in front of me right now. I got these guys both combing their mustaches while I'm talking. It's hilarious.
I brought my own this time, Ruben.
Good job,
That's
man.
hilarious.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to bring my mustache comb next time and we can all just twiddle our mustaches together like the wild banditos that we are. So
Sounds great.
Nice.
No. So yeah, I have had a touch of the COVIDs, and I'm a hard touch at that. I've been put down pretty hard over the last week, and spent the entire week confined to one room in my house. It's been a trying week to say the least, but I've had my movies, I've had my entertainment to be able to keep me comfortable. And I watched the entirety of the Mission Impossible series. Picked that
All
up.
of them?
All of them, all the way
Jesus.
through. I watched 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back with no break in between any of them. And
A madman.
I just like 2 was just like power through 2. 1 is good, power through 2. 3 is such a good movie. And you could see that that's where they started to take things like way more serious. The introduction of J.J. Abrams into that. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the very first movie that he had ever directed was Mission Impossible 3. And it wasn't until after Mission Impossible 3 that he goes on and does Super 8. And then if you're I know you've stopped at 3 right now, but the next one that you get to move on to is actually directed by Brad Bird. So from
Interesting.
Pixar,
Brad
and-
Bird.
yeah. And so Mission Impossible 4 is the first live action thing that Brad Bird ever directs, and it is such a well-made movie. And the versions of the movies that I actually picked up had all of the it's all the iTunes extras, so you get all the DVD extras and everything like that are built into it. So there's like an hour and a half long making of each one of the Mission Impossible movies so including 2. So 2, there's a making of. 3, there's a great making of that involves everything that they had involved in all the different locations. And then their making of 4 is really, really well done. Just enjoying the shit out of going back and catching all the Mission Impossible movies. And as you get further and further along into the series, like the stakes get raised every single time, and the level of action that you get gets raised every single time. I've just really, really, really enjoyed being able to go back and kind of watch all of those again with fresh eyes.
And the thing that I would say about that, because I watched Mission Impossible 1, but I'm going to just wrap it into kind of your discussion as well, so we don't go too long about it. The thing I really appreciate about the Mission Impossible movies, especially as they go on, is the practical effects and how
Yes.
Tom Cruise really kind of does his own stunts, and a lot of that makes a big difference. If you watch the first one, I forgot how terrible that CGI was on the train.
Yes.
Oh my God! I think that amateurs could do a better job these days. But
Well, considering the time that it was made as well, so that's 1997
Right, yeah,
versus
for the time, it's not bad.
Yep.
It's actually pretty good. But yeah, it was just silly, and maybe it's because I already kind of had seen the movie, obviously, but I don't know how it was at the time. But when you're watching the movie, it's for the first time, and you see that John Voight is in the movie. And you realize that there's been a betrayal at somewhere. I mean, you immediately know it's him, right? I mean,
Okay.
'cause it's John Voight.
Well, okay, so given current time that we live in and our relationship with Jon Voight, yes, you automatically know that it's betrayal. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's him. Like, they try to set it up like it could have been this person, or they're framing him, or whatever it is. It's like, no, it's Jon Voight. Yeah, I know. I already know.
You mean the character that he's playing, or just Jon Voight in general?
Both.
Okay.
It's the character, but I have a feeling Jon Voight was also personally involved somehow.
Okay.
I wouldn't put that
makes
past
perfect
him.
sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
makes perfect sense.
But I did wanted to get your take on what you thought about kind of the practical effects and the stunt coordination of those movies.
So
would you put it up there with some of the best in action movies?
Absolutely. And if you if you listen to some of the stunt guys actually talk about Tom Cruise and his ability to be able to jump out there and do them with the best of them. One of the guys was talking about, if Tom Cruise wanted to, and he decided he was just going to give up this whole acting gig right now, he could go right now and be the highest paid stunt professional that they have in the entire business, because he has no business being as good as he is, and be able to do the acting part of that, as well as being able to do all of the stunt part of that. And again, as you go further and further into the movies, and then the action kind of steps up and the stunts kind of step up, not to put any spoilers out there, but there's a point whenever you're going to the fourth one, and even in the making of the documentary behind it, and they're talking about him climbing on the outside of the Burj Khalifa and doing all of this. And the way that he presents it was like, well, yeah, of course we're going to do this. Of course I'm going to do this. And
right.
they end up...
Never a question.
It's never a question. And they have everybody else, harnessed off, and everybody, to be able to walk onto the floor where they are doing the shooting, everybody has to be wearing this crazy full body harness. And there is a sequence of events that actually happens in the fourth Mission Impossible movie, where he does this crazy fall down the side of the Burj Khalifa that most stuntmen wouldn't do that. And then one of the stunt coordinators was talking about it, and he was like, technically, once you go beyond 50 feet up, then all stunts are the same, because if you fall, you're just going to die. And the way that they speak about those things, just very matter-of-factly, and you have one of the highest paid actors in the entire world that is legit, not kind of fake putting his life on the line, legit putting his life on the line every single time that he does any one of these crazy ass stunts that he does. And, even coming from the Mission Impossible 3, there's a moment, I've gotten them all confused at this particular point in time. There's one where he's racing he's in a racing boat, and it's him and his IMF crew, and they are going down this river, and they're going 50 miles an hour in this racing boat, just open top, and it's Tom Cruise driving it. And that is legit.
And not even that, but he can fly.
Yes,
he's got I think he's a licensed pilot.
You'll see as you get further and further into the Mission Impossible movies. There's one in. Have you seen all of them, by the way, Logan?
I haven't seen the newest one. I think Fallout. I haven't seen that one.
So, you've seen it in the trailer. There's a moment actually in Fallout where he is solo flying a helicopter through the mountains, and he is doing crazy ass stunts in a helicopter, and it's Tom Cruise flying this fucking thing. And there are stunt pilots that would not do that. And the same thing in the new Top Gun movie that he just made. It was supposed to come out last year. Hopefully we'll be able to see it this year. Maverick is the name of it. He does all of his own fucking. He's out there flying these fighter jets, and it's crazy shit like that. It's because he is who he is, and because he's had the training that he has had, that it allows him to be able to do those things. So say what you want about Tom Cruise being a complete and utter fucking loon. He is, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But his dedication, his true dedication to the craft of being able to provide the audience what they want to see, and what they want to have is that visceral connection, knowing that that person that is out there that's doing those stunts is the person that's on the poster. He's the guy that's making all the money. He's the guy that does all of the, the crazy driving and the crazy flying and the crazy fucking falling off of buildings and everything like that.
Yeah.
That's the same
thing
guy
that you can't discount, which, this may or may not be the case because of how movie making it is, but if they're shooting close-up scenes in some of these shots, not only is he performing the whatever the skilled thing that he has to do, but he's acting through it.
Yes.
He's delivering a performance. Now, if you get close-up shots like in cockpit shots, usually those are done separate from the actual maneuvers. I get all that. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that he's doing since he's doing his own stunts. He's not just focused on not dying.
No,
he's also trying to deliver a performance. And that's,
yeah.
And so, with that comes some actual legitimate, probably concerns and fear and things like that.
I'm certain.
It brings back, the old Die Hard 1 thing where Alan Rickman was released, at the top of the tower before he was ready, and you get that genuine reaction of holy shit.
Yeah.
It adds something to the movie experience for sure.
Well, I was going back through, and I've been watching a lot of just a shit ton of movies lately because I've been sick at the house with COVID. But going back and watching, just pick any action movie. I was watching Total Recall the other day, and there are so many sequences that are throughout that entire thing where, as we have 4K technology now, and so we're looking at it on bigger screens, and we can actually see the close detail that they're filming. So whenever it is not the actor that is performing the stunt, and it's obviously a stuntman that doesn't look a damn thing like him, there's this thing to be said about whenever you're watching that movie, that suspension of disbelief. You have to kind of let that go a little bit whenever you're watching an action movie. And that's one of the things that whenever you're watching a Tom Cruise action movie, you don't have to let that go, because that's really this crazy human being that's out there doing these things. And one of these days, is anybody going to be shocked whenever they're doing their ninth launch of Tom Cruise into space to film something on some shuttle that's being transferred to Mars, and then he dies during the making of that? Is anybody going to be shocked? No. But is it when I say all of these things?
I'll be impressed though. Yeah, I'll tell you that. I'll be fucking impressed.
And whenever I say all these things, as ludicrous as they seem, is there anything that I have said in the last 5 minutes that doesn't seem like, oh yeah, of course he would do that? Because of course
it does.
He would fucking do
Tom
that.
Cruise.
Yes,
he doesn't
absolutely.
give a shit.
Yeah. And look, man, is he the best actor? No. Is he a very believable actor sometimes, especially given the right circumstances with the right amount of fear and adrenaline and everything like that? Oh yeah, man. He's that guy. He's the guy that I will choose every single time to be able to put himself in that position to deliver on something crazy. So
I'm glad he went down the action route, because that's, I think,
yeah, me too.
That's where he belongs.
Yeah, and
Rubio,
he knows that.
Rubio, what have you been watching?
Man, just completely different direction here. But I just don't watch stuff other than the movies that we decide on. When it comes to watching TV, I'm watching TV when I'm going to bed, or I'm watching it, whenever I'm eating dinner. I'm not actively in the pursuit of let me go sit down for 2.5 hours and watch this. Instead, that's just where hey, let me sit down for 2.5 hours and be a cowboy on Red Dead.
Well, speaking of TV and stuff like that, are you guys caught up on WandaVision?
I'm still not even caught up on WandaVision. I watched the first 2 episodes.
Haven't even started it.
Holy shit.
So I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I started watching the 3rd episode where it's all 70s styled, and I got drunk and then fell asleep in bed watching it, and then I woke up like, I don't know, 2 hours later, and I was like, oh shit, I missed all of it.
Yeah.
So we were planning on watching it tonight and catching up because I think there's 3 episodes out now since I last
4.
watched
You're
it.
planning
There's 4
there, but let's be
episodes.
honest, you're gonna go hit up the old West.
Yeah.
Do you-
Episode 4 is really, really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I already played Red Dead earlier for like 2 hours today, so maybe I should take a break.
Oh,
We'll see.
no. As soon as we finish over
We'll-
here, trust
we'll
me,
see
we're
about
about to
that.
get on and go kill
Yeah,
us some
you're-
baddies.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, no,
I did
know.
I did rewatch the South Park Pandemic special, which I think is
Okay.
just the greatest social commentary of its time.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of integrity in that
A
episode.
lot of integrity just around the board in relation to just like, police brutality and, the global
It's amazing how it caught up on
epidemic
so
and-
many things in one episode.
Oh, yeah.
just
They touched on everything. They didn't forget anything. It's wild.
No.
I hate how smart South Park is by how dumb it is. I think it's the fart jokes I think turn people off to the point where they're not actually paying attention to what's being talked about in a lot of South Park, and it's been that way for 25 years.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
a
mean,
delicate balance.
Yeah, and the fact
know,
that they're
it's
still making a relevant social commentary
yeah,
in 2020.
and that's what I
um,
said last night too. Like I was watching it last night until like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
and I looked over and I was like, baby, I've been watching this show since I was 9 years old. Like it's just the show just keeps going. It's just
Yeah,
it's impressive.
It's good, and I think I don't know if it was on our last like 2-person episode, but on one of the last episodes, I talked about how I kind of was watching a little bit of Family Guy recently, and Family Guy is one that I point to and say, this is a show that it leans too far, into its own kind of humor to the point where you lose a lot of the smart humor and you just have dumb cutaways.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
has
the
its
same
moments.
repeated
it's its
joke.
own obscure meta that it has created, and it becomes this endless
And it-
cycle of its own self. Yeah.
Exactly, and it gets to where it feels cheap and lazy sometimes, or I would say often in the later seasons. South Park, though, I mean, even there's obviously episodes that are better than others, but
Yep.
like it's so good. I remember the thing that I always will remember was back in 2008. So I was watching South Park back then too. It was forever ago. The election had just happened.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and of course, the election happens on Tuesday. The next day, new South Park comes out, and they've already got it to where President Obama had won.
Yep.
And I remember there was a big thing about how, like, they are going to include whatever happens in this episode, and they did it.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, how do they do that? They turned around and wrote an entire episode, edited it, filmed it, voiced it, all that stuff, got it sent out, got it approved in an amazingly quick turnaround time. It's wild.
There is
what they do over there.
There's a super fun documentary that's out there called 7 Days to Air, and it does exactly that. It goes through the entire process of them making an episode, and it's basically they build this entire thing within 7 days. Technically, they build it within 3, and like the last couple of days before each episode, then all the crew they'll stay the entire night over there at South Park Studios, and people are sleeping underneath fucking desks on cots and stuff like that, and like it's crazy the amount of work that they put in to be able to get something that's as very specific and relevant to right now as it is humanly possible to be able to deliver. And I mean, just fucking hats off to those guys for being able to do that every single week. Just absolutely love it.
They talk about like they're they're getting close to the deadline, and they're like, I don't know. They're like, we may have to call Comedy Central and tell them we're not going to have an episode.
Oh yeah,
because it's just not coming together. But they've done it every
and they're
single
like
time
hand delivering tapes and shit like that with no approval from Comedy Central before it goes live. Like when we see it is when the people at Comedy Central get to see it, and for them to be able to have that much freedom in their hands is crazy in this day and age.
Well, it's
Well,
one of the
even-
reasons that they're so successful.
Oh,
even,
yeah, of course.
even if they were to get pulled or if something happens with Viacom to the point where they're like, hey, no more South Park. I mean, they ultimately own South Park Studios, right? So
Yeah.
they have the right to not my understanding is they could just launch their own South Park, website, which they did have at one point back in the day before it got, I think, bought out by some streaming platform. But
Yeah, no. I
You can still
believe they're
watch
on.
a lot of the South Park episodes on the website. Like,
Yeah, and
most of them you can just watch.
I believe they're also on HBO Max right now as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they pop up on streaming services
Yep.
from time to time.
Yep.
But
yeah.
real quick, I'll talk about. Are you? Was that all you wanted to talk about?
I was just gonna say, other than that, I mean, I picked up a 1080i component cable for my Xbox 360, and I have been watching Futurama and King of the Hill on my big screen CRT in here. So during my work from home days, I'll just have I'll have Hulu playing and 1080i at this point. I stepped up from RCA to get a little bit better clarity
There you
on
go.
that old
There you
Sony.
go.
Awesome.
But
I'd love to see it. Where'd you get a fucking 1080i cable?
so I was gonna get it from GameStop. They're $2.99, but you have to pay for shipping. So I just went on eBay and just bought one from some guy. it was
There
like
you go.
it was like $6. So
Easy.
You didn't want to give
Yeah, real
GameStop your
quick.
money?
I'll yeah. I mean, if you got stocks in them, which a lot of people do now, maybe not a bad idea to go hit up your old GameStop.
nah, I'm out, dude.
Support the business.
No, I don't. I'm over. I didn't buy any GameStop.
Oh, okay.
I didn't either. I missed out on that. I watched a couple movies. I actually think I may have talked about them on the podcast many months ago. I watched the Now You See Me movies, both 1 and 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Because I talked to you guys about this in the text. I don't know why. I just enjoy them. You know, I know that.
I really enjoy the first one. The second one, it gets way too CGI for me to be able to enjoy it. Especially that like flipping the thing back and forth at the wherever the hell they are inside of that one
Where
place.
they pass the card.
Ugh.
I see a lot of people that hate that scene. I like it. You know, I think I really enjoyed it. I
Is
don't
this
know.
the,
I just like
magician
it's
bank
dumb.
robbers. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
I
like
recall
oceans with magic.
I recall watching the first movie like in parts and chunks.
Yeah.
It wasn't
First one I really
memorable.
enjoyed.
Maybe I should
first
go
one
back.
I
Maybe I should
enjoyed
revisit
it, and it's Mark Ruffalo that's actually in it. That is,
So you have Lex
like-
Luthor, the Hulk. Who else is in the movie?
You have Alfred.
Okay,
is
there
in
you
the
go.
Movie.
Oh,
You
is
have
it
Lucius
Yeah.
Lucius Fox is in the movie.
Okay,
All right.
yes, that's right.
So yeah, there's a lot of there's some references.
That's what I
in
do
there.
now. I watch a movie and I always picture that person as whatever comic book hero they played.
Yeah, what comic book hero are you? Yes.
Yeah, if you weren't in one, then I don't care about you. Simple as that. But yeah, they're not great stories or anything like that, but they're just fun. You know,
Yeah, of
they're just
course.
fun and dumb,
Yeah.
and you just have a good time. Isla Fisher's in it, and I love her.
Same.
I'll marry her one day. I know she's already married. But,
One of these
whatever.
days, man.
My
One
wife.
of these days.
Yeah, that's who she's married to. It's actually, I think she's actually married to Borat, right?
Yeah.
The guy.
Yeah.
So he actually says that to her, and I'm jealous.
Yeah.
My wife.
But
So stupid.
God damn him! I'm telling you, what a lucky man.
Yeah.
Um,
absolutely.
but that's pretty much all I was going to talk about. I watched some scenes from Apollo 13 because I was going to watch that whole movie, and then I had some things come up, and
It's
because
like
I was just
6
watching
hours long.
clips. 6 hours long.
Isn't it? Let me look it up.
No, Apollo 13
I
is
don't think
not.
it's
No.
not that long. I was watching just
That's on
clips
my list.
YouTube, and
That's on my list for
I was-
this week, by the way. Is
yeah,
Apollo
I don't know
13.
why. I just wanted to kind of watch it again.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I'll probably watch it. I'll report back next week. But that's pretty much it for me. You guys want to go ahead and dig into?
Yeah,
the main
there's
course.
there is another series of movies that I'll talk about when we're talking a little bit about the director that we're going to be talking about here in just one moment as well. So,
Oh yeah. Oh, we teased a little bit about. I think we might butt some heads on old Spielberg here.
yeah,
I just
little
want to hear you guys go in on this movie for me because I feel like I know where Logan's gonna take it, and I feel like Tyler's gonna oversell it, and I'm just gonna kind of ride somewhere right in the middle there.
okay.
But let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Before we go too far,
Well-
do you want to throw out any links or any kind of social stuff for everybody if they've made it this far, or you want to save that for the end?
We can go ahead and tell them right now. Let me tell you guys, there is not a better website that exists on the internet than podcastmoviepodcast.com. I'm telling you right now, this is a website that has a lot of love and care into it. And not only that, but it's resourceful. You can find our social media links on there. You can find a link to our Patreon on there. If you'd like to go and look at a YouTube channel that has one video, you can find a link to that on there.
That's true.
That's
I
on
saw
there
that.
as well. And then, of course, most importantly,
we did talk about it on
RSS.
the group chat today. We will be adding another video to the YouTube channel. Very
Should
quickly.
feature
So.
Austin. Yeah.
It is going to be age restricted, so children, you're not allowed to look at it, but otherwise, be on the lookout for that. Trust me, you're going to want to see this, so head over to podcastmoviepodcast.com. Get signed up over there. Last thing, I really, really would love for you guys to send us an email at podcastmoviepodcast@gmail.com. The reason I want you to do that is because I would like for you to send us your favorite movies, the ones that you love, that you would defend against anybody.
And
I'm
then
gonna
Logan's going to shit all over them.
I'm going to destroy that movie from top
likes
to bottom.
Now You See Me, so
Right? So you know that I have impeccable taste.
There you go.
So podcastmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Tell me about your favorite movie. And not only will I write you back, but I'm going to talk about you on the show.
There you go.
I want to talk about you on the show, and we'll have a little dialogue, and we'll see who wins.
Ultimately, we control what that dialogue is, so we win. So
yeah, it's really not fair. Like, I'll just act against you. I'm basically shorting your ability to, win
120% short.
120% short. All right, Minority Report. I've been trying to get us to watch this movie on this podcast for months and months, and I'm glad that we finally did, because like what often happens when we watch movies for this podcast, my opinion of the movie changed slightly.
Okay.
It changed a little bit. When you watch it with the intent to talk about it in depth, you get a different experience out of it. I think you guys would agree with that.
I agree.
But before I mention what I think, let me hear what you think, Mr. Weiss.
Okay, so let me first start off by saying that in the 32 episodes, now this will be 33 episodes that have aired on our main podcast feed, this will be the second Philip K. Dick movie that we're going to be covering. And for some strange fucking reason, this is the first time that we're covering anything Steven Spielberg. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Some would say stupid. Okay. So I was just going
our
through
Spielberg introduction.
Yeah. Okay. So look, what could have been our Spielberg introduction? I don't know. Jaws, Close Encounters,
E.T.,
E.T., Indiana fucking Jones,
no.
Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan. And we're coming in on fucking Minority Report. We're going to come in and do a hot take on Minority Report.
When you go to see your favorite band in concert, which is a foreign thing that no one's done in a year. So, let's all think back.
Yeah, maybe
about
you
that
have
experience. When you go back
days.
and you listen to your favorite band, do they play their hit as their opener? No, never. That's the finale, okay? So we got to start off with something.
Wait till the end of the podcast. And then at the last couple of episodes of the podcast, we're going to cover The Godfather.
Get some good episodes.
And then we're okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to save it until we're canceled.
And it's not like, this is not the worst movie that Spielberg's ever been a part of.
No, absolutely not. Okay, look,
BFG.
BFG,
yeah, the big fucking giant. Yeah, no, that's one of my least favorites.
Yeah, so I thought it was the big fucking gun.
Is that actually what
that would have been more
stood for?
No,
in
big
the movie?
friendly giant is what it is.
Oh,
It's big
okay.
friendly giant.
Yeah,
Not
the
big fucking
BFG
gun, not
Unreal
big fucking
Tournament?
play
giant.
Unreal Tournament and
Yeah,
Doom. So
BFG
it's
has
a big
always
fucking
been
gun.
the
All
I
big
know
funky
it's
guy.
so weird that they would name something the BFG. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So yes, let me spend a little bit of time talking about first, just talking Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick is
Blade Runner.
Look, man, from Blade Runner to Minority Report. I mean, those are the two that we have covered on here.
Are we doing a Scanner Darkly?
Do what now?
Are we gonna do a Scanner Darkly?
I don't know if we're ever going to cover a Scanner Darkly on here, but in talking a little bit about from the Blade Runner podcast, going in and doing some research on Philip K. Dick, like his rise to fame, and it's less meteoric than what we believe, and he died 4 months before being able to watch Blade Runner. So he died 4 months before Blade Runner came out. So that was going to end up being the thing that, catapulted him into crazy stardom. And what it was is he had a headache, talked to a doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, you should definitely go to the hospital and have it checked out. He's like, no, I'll be okay. And then turns out it was a stroke, and he ended up having complications from the stroke. I mean, they were able to save him temporarily, and then he died, never came out of a coma. And it's just a really shitty way to be able to lose
freak
somebody.
accident type things,
Crazy things that just happens like that. So, but the movie that we're actually going to be covering today is actually based off of a short story that was originally published in the magazine Fantastic Universe in 1956. Fantastic Universe was just collections of stories and stuff like that for people in the sci-fi world and sci-fi community, and they really looked at things like those Fantastic Universe magazines as a way to be able to get their sci-fi fix. And this just happens to be one of those things that was published in 1956. A lot of the stuff changes between the story that originally is told and the one that we actually get to see.
It's pretty common with Philip K. Dick adaptations.
Yeah, has to be. Well, I mean, I guess technically didn't have to be, but just the way that the writer of this Minority Report, the adaptation that they had, they were given direction from like Spielberg that take all of this the technology and everything like that goes into making the movie, and then kind of put that to the side, and then make it this story of it's way more of a whodunit that is layered with this technology that we get to see inside of there, as opposed to just a movie that is fueled by the use of technology. You can kind of see it different ways.
When I get to my side of things, I was going to bring up a point about that as well, that I want to talk about, but continue.
So look, before I go like headlong into Minority Report, just to talk a little bit about Mr. Steven Spielberg for just a moment. And I know that whenever we finally do, like, I would love to be able to do a deep dive into like the making of Jaws, or just the making of E.T., or I mean even Schindler's List. And I have a friend that really wants us to be able to sit down on the Jurassic Park podcast, so we can go super in depth into Spielberg at that particular point in time.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of a generation gap between where you guys sit and where I sit, and where like myself growing up, Steven Spielberg like legitimately shaped my entire childhood, shaped the movies that I saw throughout my childhood. There's it's the Jaws that scared the shit out of me. I wasn't born whenever Jaws very first came out. I was a year from being born when Jaws first came out, but it's those movies right there that shaped my childhood. Jaws and Close Encounters, and growing up in the time of Indiana Jones and E.T., and there's just so much that legitimately he could do no wrong, like legitimately could do no wrong. And so by the time that we get to the point where, we've already gone through Schindler's List, and we've already gone through Jurassic Park, and we've already done, he does Amistad, and just he finishes Amistad and then does Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan just completely fucked everybody, man. I mean, in just like, oh my God, this is what a war movie can actually end up being, in the creation of Saving Private Ryan. That opening sequence in Saving Private Ryan of them storming the beaches is just, it's something that whenever you watch that, it just kind of sticks with you forever. And it's that guy.
It's wild.
It's wild. And it's that guy that then delivers to you, you get, he comes in and kind of cleans up the end of artificial intelligence after Kubrick dies, and then does his little Spielberg-y ending on it. And then immediately after that, so he's making artificial intelligence he's finishing artificial intelligence while at the same time working on Minority Report. So he is balls deep in two different levels of technological, intelligences movies at the same exact point in time. And to think that the one didn't have some type of effect on the other. Whenever Minority Report first came out, and I've already done my whole thing about Tom Cruise and the craziness that you get from Tom Cruise, and although he did not leap from sideways car to sideways car for Minority Report, that was actually CG. Clearly,
it's still
very
it looks
clearly.
Amazing, and it looks amazing.
It does. It looks amazing.
Yeah, looks awesome.
Although that scene, there's a fuck up in that scene where after he kicks out the window and then climbs on the side of the car that he's climbing on, he's climbing on top of a window that shouldn't be there any longer. But that's a goof in the movie.
I noticed that too. It's funny you mentioned that because what happened to me is I was watching it, and then as he did that, in my brain it was some kind of weird logic problem. I was like, wait, hold on, something I just watched doesn't make sense, and I don't know what it is yet. But I couldn't think of it, and then I was like, oh, the fucking window.
So it technically what it should have been, it's right after he climbs on top of the thing, and then it cuts away, and then it comes back, and he's standing on top of where that window was. He's actually on top of a different car at that particular point in time. You don't actually get to see that because that is technically edited out. So technically it's a different car. So,
right.
But I digress. Growing up with Steven Spielberg being such a crazy, huge influence in my life from a movie standpoint, on being this director that can do no wrong and will do no wrong, and everything that he touches turns, it's solid gold, and it's Oscar, and it's that every single time. Coming into making Minority Report, it has this incredible buildup behind it that, although the movie is a really well done adaptation of Philip K. Dick's short story and stars, at the I don't know if it was the height of Tom Cruise, but it's definitely one of the first, if not second, comings of the Tom Cruise phenomenon. And there's a bunch of incredible actors that are actually throughout the entire thing. It still doesn't. I don't feel like it gets that payoff that you're looking for in this movie. And
no, it doesn't.
I think that's at some point in time, and some people would say it goes way back very, very far. Steven Spielberg doesn't know how to end a movie. And I think
I was just about to tell you, the problem is the man that you just praised for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg believes that every movie should end in the ideal way. And in a lot of ways,
but what way is
doing
that, though? And that, I think that's where it's lost.
Well, his doing that is, it often conflicts with, the story of the movie up to that point. Now, in a lot of his movies, let's say, like in some of the earlier movies, Indiana Jones, he's more, family friendly, just kind of entertainment popcorn movies, sure. But Minority Report is, by its very nature, it's like a futuristic dystopian type of feel, especially if you read the short story. If you're a Philip K. Dick fan, in the vein of Ray Bradbury, he made things where he talks about technology, and often it's not in a positive light.
Correct.
And whenever you have, like in Minority Report, the whole idea is you have a company that's developed a new technology. They think that they are going to do a lot of good. They're going to save a lot of lives. And inevitably, it's still driven by humans.
Yep.
Humans are still a part of it. And as long as that's the case, there's going to be a factor of corruption and evil and things like that. And when you take that and what the characters were supposed to learn throughout the movie, which is a common thing you look for in stories, and at the end of it, let's I'm gonna just jump into the end of it and let's talk about what happened. So,
I'm gonna let you go down your path that you're going to go down here, and then I'm gonna let Ruben have his say in it, and then I'm gonna blow your fucking minds just wide open. I'm gonna crack them open with a hammer. I'm just gonna pour your brains out all over the fucking ground. Go ahead.
I'm not convinced you'll be able to do that, but I'll give you a try. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. He and that girl have a baby because he lost his kid, and so he's got that back. They're in love now. They're married, and then they take the three
precogs
and they lock them up again, basically in a house
whose
out in the middle
names
of nowhere.
are Agatha,
Yeah,
Arthur,
Arthur
and Dashiell.
Morgan. And,
No,
yeah,
it's Agatha Christie, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and Dashiell Hammett. Those are the three names that they're based off of. They're actually mystery authors. So
Yeah.
little backstory there. Go.
You would know that.
freaking nerds.
Yep.
I mean, I know Arthur Conan Doyle. He did Sherlock Holmes, and of course Agatha Christie does a lot of whodunits.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Dashiell Hammett, Maltese Falcon, the Thin Man.
Okay.
James. Yeah. So whenever you think of the classical, the trench coat wearing private detective, Sam Spade. Yeah. That's Dashiell Hammett. That thing that you have in your brain right now, Dashiell Hammett put that there. All right, go.
Nice. And at the same, I just think that whenever you have a futuristic movie that's trying to make a point, that's trying to deliver a message about how technology can be more damaging than it is good, the nature of it is to be a little bit, sour and not great. That's what I like about them. That's why, no matter what I think is wrong with this movie, I love Minority Report. It's one of my favorite movies because I just love this type of story. I love
I do too.
Dystopic, stories. They're just some of my favorites. Like 1984, I read that when I was in high school. I think I was a freshman, and I was like, "This is. I love this fucking thing." I
read
love
it again
shit like
last
that.
year. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy, and
Yeah.
it's because as you start to read these things and you look at the stories. A lot of these were written a long time ago, and you can kind of, figure out, are we almost here yet?
Yeah.
What about this have we seen? What have we not seen? And it's just interesting to see, it's like looking at a crash that's about to happen, and you're just watching it, and, you can't do anything about it.
Yep.
But it's just about to happen right in front of you, and you're just there. So ultimately, I still love Minority Report. It's one of my favorite movies. I just think that the Spielbergianness of it, I don't think he was a great choice for the director. There was a lot of things I'm sure that he did to flesh it out for a full-length movie.
Correct.
That made it what it is as well. So that's not to say that he did a terrible job, because I bet, when you were talking about how he and the writers got together to try to adapt it for a movie, I'm sure he had a big part in that.
Yes.
I don't know. He wouldn't be my first choice. It's kind of the same reason why War of the Worlds isn't, huge on me.
It suffers the exact same problem as Minority Report
it does.
So, Ruby, real quick, what's your take on this movie?
It's a fun summer blockbuster movie.
Okay.
I don't think it really speaks anything super intelligent, or I don't think it really uncovers anything. I think it hits on some neat themes. I think it's visually impressive.
Visually it's incredible.
Yeah, I like, if you told me that this movie came out last year, I would believe you.
100%.
Yeah,
it's all the special effects, every single aspect to it, beginning to end, 100% holds up, because it doesn't try to make the technology be the thing in the forefront. It tries to make the technology be the tool that is used to be able to provide the framework of the story itself. And that's what I loved how they like the spaceships. I mean, they weren't spaceships. The fucking helicopter-y things that they flew around in. They didn't make those things. That was background fodder. It was a thing that you get to see three times.
It exists in this reality. It's not here's not an entire shot for you to witness it and go, oh, correct. It's just like that's just part of the existence of the movie. Yeah. I think that visually it's impressive. I think that it plays on the future aspect of reality really well. I like one of my favorite scenes is where he's on the run and he walks into like, I believe it was a Gap.
Oh yeah,
maybe it was an Old Navy
eye recognition technology. And it's and
Mr. Anderton,
it's
targeted advertising.
Yeah,
and then it asks about a recent purchase he had, and it's like, how did those pants fit you? That you had bought recently, and just as he's going through all these different shops and everything's literally targeting advertising to him based on what
seems
he's
real,
purchased.
huh?
Yeah, it's incredibly on point. I like that this was where I guess Blade Runner gives you the dirty bottom of the world. This kind of gives you that Blade Runner utopia aspect of it.
Yep.
I also like the color grading that they did on this with I had read something, and you might be able to speak on this a little more in depth, but I read that they actually had taken the film press and dipped it in like chlorine or something
correct.
like that.
They bleached the actual film stock. Yeah. It gives it that whitewash throughout the entire thing, and basically it creates this color gradient that you get for the entire film. Brave to be able to do that, I think is is one of the words that I would put out there. Crazy would be another one, but what the end result that you get from that is, it definitely helps to create the entire overall theme of the movie. In some parts that are just completely blown out white. It was something that, that's not something that's done, to like, especially not like a major motion picture. And for that to be able to be the presentation that you get from it is, like I said, it's very brave.
But yeah, I mean, you guys talked about, when he's jumping from the cars and everything, take a look at that scene again. Those cars are all in formation, all automated. The passengers are idly browsing, like looking at content. The vehicles are
almost there,
all
man.
Autonomous. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice look at 2054, and I think that it seems within reach 30 years from now. Everything that's in this movie, hopefully not the freaking pre-crog, pre-crime, but realistically look into it. Like, police forces are using facial recognition technology with like pre-data. Determining if you are a criminal based on your behaviors, on your like location patterns.
It's all metadata stuff that they use to try to figure out, are you likely? I think more so like your like letter organizations like FBI, things like that.
Yep.
Really utilize that stuff to be able to track these people down. I don't know. I guess I just disagree with you guys that for me, if you're going to tell this story, I think if you go with the theme of what it's about, I just think you have to have it be a little bit more negative. I just feel like I would have enjoyed a little bit more. And maybe it's because I've also read the short story, and like I said, I immerse myself in these kinds of stories often. So, I may be biased as well. So I recognize that for sure.
Can we take a minute to just talk about like the way that this movie pits Tom Cruise against Colin Farrell? One of the things that I actually enjoyed about this movie, especially like during this most recent viewing, is just the way that they don't use Colin Farrell, because he's not the bad guy. I mean, he's presented as being like, the antithesis to the character that John Anderton is, but at the same point in time, like, he's only there as a response to this thing that he believes that there's a flaw in it, and he tells him, if there's a flaw in this, it's human. And I mean, obviously he's right, because you have Chief Anderton who goes out and he's fucking taking drugs at night because he's suffered a crazy traumatic event, with the loss of his son, and it caused the divorce, between him and his wife. And Colin Farrell as Danny Whitwer, his character is in there to be able to give. I mean, it's a little bit of exposition so that it allows us to be able to, have it explained to us like what the job of the precogs is, and like this whole idea behind, pre-crime of stopping an event that was going to happen. And I think that the movie, they do this in a very visual, very intelligent way of whenever he takes the ball, and John Anderton takes the ball and then rolls it along the edge of it. And you can see it rolling around to the other side. And Colin Farrell reaches out and catches it. And he's like, well, why did you catch that? And he's like, well, because it was going to fall. He was like, but it didn't. How did you know it was going to fall? And it's just, that is a very succinct way of being able to explain to, the smart people, but also the dummies that are watching it, that are like, oh shit, okay, I get, that's the whole concept of stopping pre-crime that is done right there for us, right there in that moment. And I really enjoyed, Colin Farrell in his American accent of being able to just play opposite Tom Cruise. And I think that he, for the superstar that Tom Cruise was going into this movie, and then Colin Farrell on the kind of the rise of the Colin Farrell, it was, I think he did really well in this to kind of hold his own. And even the silly little fight sequences that they had at the Lexus plant, I think, Colin Farrell not only held his own in the little boxing match that they had up there at the suspended moving platform that they had going through the Lexus plant.
I want to point out real quick that Spielberg and Lucas, being the buddies that they are, which one of them leaked their idea for their movie shot? Because this movie came out, and then you get the exact same scene in a factory in Attack of the Clones.
Almost shot for shot remake of the exact same thing. Yes,
that's true.
Yeah, it's literally almost the same. Like, I was watching it and I forgot. Like, I was watching and I went, wait a second, where have I seen this? And I Googled Minority Report factory scene, and it was just thread after thread of like, wait, what movie came out first? Like,
yeah.
That's pretty funny.
If they only had lightsabers, it would have made it so much better. So yeah, man.
I want to ask you guys a question.
Go
real quick. So the first time that I watched this movie, it was probably like 10 years ago, because one of the movie podcasts that I listen to and still to this day is called Film Sack, and they did an episode over Minority Report, and it was one of the more popular ones because there was a guy on there who famously did not like this movie, and they'd been building it up, and when they finally watched it, he still was like, yeah, I don't like it. I think it's dumb. And one of the things that they talked about was the presence of water and what it represents in the movie.
Okay.
So this is something that, other people have talked about. I've looked it up too. It's a common theme that gets discussed. I was just wondering, did you guys ever get that watching this movie, that the water was meant to represent anything or anything like that?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily pick that up, but I mean, there's a lot of scenes, I guess, of water. What are you hitting at here?
Well, I mean, I think that what I'm getting at is that I think the movie does a lot to try to make these statements and tries to be deep and introspective, but because it's Spielbergian in its delivery, it falls flat a lot of the times. That's why I think that if you had the movie be a little bit more critical of things in its tone, I think that stuff maybe would have been more noticed. If you would have been like, well, the water, the precogs were stuck in water and they were trapped there and they can't move. And then like the scene where he's in the bathtub when it's cold and he can't move. And this idea of like an awakening or something like that, maybe stuff like that hits a little bit harder, maybe it resonates better. But if the whole time, instead of actually being forced to think about like the effects of these things and what it's trying to the message it's trying to say, instead you're just like, oh, that's a cool, fun scene. Oh,
yes.
Look, Tom Cruise got slapped by a plant. Oh no, that's funny. That's adorable. Oh, he's trapped in the car, except he's not, and he's making a mean face now.
Well, okay, so I think
cheapens
that if whenever, well, I mean, like if you look at it for even like the messages it's trying to deliver on the surface, which is that just because somebody has a thought about a thing that they're going to do, that's kind of the whole purpose behind what the Minority Report actually is, I mean, yeah, look, and it plays it out even to a crazy further extent in the Philip K. Dick short story, which is almost every single one of them had a Minority Report in the Philip K. Dick short story.
Mm-hmm.
And the Minority Reports, I mean, the reports could be so different. And so it was just based upon one person's interpretation of one of these future events. One of these future events was going to happen. And in the movie that we see, we get to see that, you know, it's two of them that will agree with each other. And then the stronger, telepath, which is Agatha, will have a different, precognition than the other two. And the one that is the dissenting report becomes the Minority Report. And that ends up being automatically deleted, but you can always retrieve the original from the telepath.
So it's not actually deleted.
Correct.
And also it means that basically this is going to happen unless it doesn't.
Okay, yes. I mean,
she tells him, Agatha even says multiple times, you always have a choice. Like,
you always have a choice, no matter
but also,
and specifically,
but what does she know?
If you see what your future holds, and if you know what your future holds, then obviously, then you have a choice.
But he did kill the guy, whether or not it was an intentional murder.
Correct,
he did, but it also wasn't at the exact same time it was supposed to happen.
Well, not only that, but
I mean, and that goes to
he
show me though that they don't
have a Minority Report.
They don't.
So all
see
three
the future,
precogs had the exact same prevision of Anderton killing Leo Crow. All
Except
three
in their
precogs.
vision, he said, "Fuck you," and shot him, as opposed to
he still said those
shooting
words
himself.
in the same order, just not with the same inflection that you got the way that the precogs were able to visualize that.
Yeah, but he didn't shoot him in the same way. He didn't say like, goodbye, Crow, and then shoot him.
But he does.
He says goodbye,
says,
Crow,
goodbye,
and then he
Crow.
doesn't shoot him, and then they talk a little bit, and then he says kill me, and he says no, and then
right,
he
but we're
pulls
only
it and he
seeing
kills
the
himself.
clips
Correct.
It doesn't
that
happen
the precogs
in the
are
way that
seeing,
they
though.
said. So not
Correct.
only are there was no Minority Report, so by the logic of the movie,
but again,
what you
I don't
said,
think that they see the future. I think that they understand what the future could be, and they're still seeing glimpses.
They have a
of
representation of what the future may hold. I believe, and that's the whole point behind what Philip K. Dick was trying to say, which is even if you know what your future holds, even if you know exactly the moment that something is going to happen, you still have the ability to be able to change that. And that, and it's just left up to interpretation, because if we did not have the ability to be able to change that, then that would mean that there is this thing such as fate, and that all of our destinies are pre-chosen, and you don't really have free will. And that's an argument for another podcast at another point in time, because there's a lot of really, really smart people, thinkers that are way deeper than I'll ever be able to get, that will argue against this idea of free will all day long. And I believe that, the argument is probably right to a certain extent, but that's that philosophical conversation that I believe that the movie is trying to have. Although I'm right with you in the same camp of, I dislike the way that Steven Spielberg comes in and does that scrub at the end of it, where he does the Spielbergian happy ending.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pose a question to you guys, or pose an idea to you guys, and kind of wanted to see what you thought about this. And this is kind of the way that my brain went upon this most recent viewing of the movie, which is, there's a line that is actually spoken by, who is it? That is the, he's the guy who keeps everybody down in the, everybody's haloed
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name. He's in a lot of stuff too, and I always recognize him.
Buster Scruggs.
Yes, it's Buster Scruggs is exactly who it is. Tim Blake
Ballad of
Nelson is who
Buster
he is. So his name is his character's name is Gideon. By the way, I just watched Buster Scruggs again the other day. Incredible,
Love it.
Incredible collection of short stories.
Why is he not in more stuff, man?
He's in a bunch of stuff. He's
in
just a
he's
very,
in
very,
Watchmen, right?
he's a very good character actor. Yeah, he's in the TV series Watchmen. He plays Mirror, I believe is the name of his character. Incredibly well done. Anyway, not to get on a Tim Blake Nelson side rant. It's a line that is actually said by Gideon during the film, which is, oh, look at them, they're all down here, just all peaceful now. And Tom Cruise is like, well, what is it that they're that they're experiencing? And he's like, oh, well, when you're haloed, all of your dreams come true. So this is the thing that I'm going to propose to you.
I know where you're getting at. Okay.
So there's a moment at which Anderton is haloed in his ex-wife's house, and then he falls to sleep, and it basically gets put into this little whatever you want to call it, where they're cold storing everybody that has been haloed. Everything that happens after that moment in the movie completely changes. There is the moment where the ex-wife is then having the conversation with Lamar Burgess, which is expertly played by Max von Sydow. Just incredible job. And whenever you see that conversation that they're having, like Burgess, he slips up twice during the conversation, just gives away clues to her that he would not give away. She turns around, and then on the table is the box that has Anderton's gun in it. Visibly, you can see the side profile of the gun that's actually in there. And there's another there's another piece that almost 100% confirms that everything that you get to witness is a halo, which is the presence of his eyeball. So let's rewind a little bit and let's go back to the time.
How did she get that?
Yeah. So how did she get it? So if you go rewind and you go back to the point where Anderton breaks back into the pre-crime labs to get Agatha, to basically be able to get his Minority Report from her, which he does not have. The moment where he's actually trying to get back into the pre-crime, he has to use the eyeball that was taken out during the surgery, or before he has to go into the bath and everything like that. So he has eyeballs, and he has two of them, and they're inside of a plastic bag. And he takes and he opens up the bag, and he blows into the bag. The eyeballs are in there, and he goes to shake them out. And after he shakes them out, two things happen that are very important to the story. One is the eyeballs fall down, and then they start rolling down the thing. And then the other is he takes that bag, crumbles it up, and then throws it behind him. Okay? So once he goes down the hallway, one of the eyeballs falls into the vent hole. The other eyeball he's able to retrieve, which he then holds in his hand and then holds it up to the sensor that allows him to be able to gain access to the inside of pre-crime. We never see the eyeball ever again. But the thing that we do know is he took the bag and he threw that away. And that same exact bag is present whenever she goes to pull the eyeball out of the bag at the very end of the movie. So every single thing that is a Spielbergian ending to this movie is a Spielbergian ending to this movie because it is the way that Anderton wants it to be able to play out while he is haloed inside of his cold storage locker. So none of that ever happens.
I can dispute that.
The movie effectively ends whenever he is haloed, and then everything that happens after that. Because, I mean, look, we see Agatha, she gets placed back on the thing, and then it goes back to Lamar Burgess and he's now going to be running pre-crime, and fucking because Whitwer's dead. Whitwer's been killed by Lamar Burgess, and
which is the coolest turn in the movie for me.
Oh man, that's such a hard
scene.
Yeah, really, really, really well made scene.
Completely
he doesn't
twisted.
see it coming at all, dude. He's just going off. He's
nobody
excited
sees it
and
coming.
it's popped.
Well, I like that they played off too that Colin Farrell may actually be a good guy. You're like, oh wait, maybe he is actually a good guy, and then that's it, and you're like, oh fuck.
Oh shit, he was a good guy, and he was going to be able to prove it.
Except now
that this thing actually happened, and then Lamar Burgess goes around and just kills him. And then he's like, "Do you hear that? No sirens, because there's no red ball." And then fucking caps him right there in the room. So,
badass.
I posit the ending that we get to see is a Steven Spielbergian ending, because it's a dream. It's a dream that was created.
There's a problem with that, and I've seen this theory tossed around. The problem is that this movie doesn't set up Anderton to be the narrator of the story. There are scenes that you see in the movie where he's not present. There are things that happen without him being there. So in order to make the case, and so it could go either way. Either it's not what's happening because it doesn't make sense because he's not the narrator, and so what we see has no bearing on any kind of like unreliable narrator storytelling, or it's even worse storytelling because they tried to set that up and it doesn't make sense for them to do that, and they didn't care, so they just tried to do this anyway.
Oh, they didn't try to set that up at all. That is just what my interpretation of this is, and it's the only thing that makes sense to me. That
if you want to try to justify it that way, that's fine. I think it's an interesting thing. It's certainly like a cool thought experiment to look at it because. Yeah, you can point to some things as far as like the eye, getting things like that. As far as how everything seems to just work out.
Everything works out at the end,
exactly the way that he wanted.
Exactly the way that he wanted.
There's other answers, like you mentioned that like she had the same bag. I mean, it's just a bag. She could have gotten another bag to put the eye in.
Oh no, it had same writing on it and everything. Go back and watch.
The same writing on it and everything. Huh?
Yes, it's the exact same bag.
Let's say so he throws it over his shoulder. He doesn't throw it away, right? He just throws it past him.
And so he goes back and collects the bag.
Or he doesn't at all. I mean, it's his box of stuff. So the investigators looking for him would have just gathered all his stuff.
They would have gathered the bag, put the eyeball back in the bag that he never puts back in the bag.
Well, we don't see that, but because he just
you see him put it in his pocket. It shows him stick his hand down in his pocket as he is coming into the pre-crime lab.
Well, maybe he just went and made copies of his eye. You can probably do that in the movie. I mean, if we want to just come up with shit that could happen or may have happened, then that could have been what it was. But yeah, I don't think it's an unreliable narrator situation, even though I love that as a storytelling technique. I mentioned it before on this podcast. But realistically, it is in a way someone getting the ideal ending that they want, and we're seeing that. It's just that person is not Anderton. It's Steven Spielberg.
Oh, correct. That is.
We
correct.
get to see his Halo life, basically.
Yes, that's exactly how it plays out. Yeah.
But I don't want to be like a sourpuss and be like, oh, it's stupid. Because I'm not saying it's stupid. Like I said, it's an interesting theory. And there's a lot of things you can say, like what you just said, that you can go back and you can connect those dots and you can make a case for it.
As I started to make the case for it, I went back and I watched all of these different aspects to it. And the only thing that does not line up is simply the fact that it doesn't take place from the narrated perspective of like legitimately everything that happens after that. Go back and watch it. It's very, very, very well made. Or it fits directly into the timeline of it being a Halo story, because I mean, before that, it wasn't not everything happened directly to him, because you get to see Whitwer being killed by Burgess. That happens, separate from Tom Cruise's character. But at the same point in time, like if it was a fantasy, wouldn't that just kind of fill in all the holes? And if it was a fantasy, then, you know, he would be able to picture how that conversation would happen between his ex-wife and Burgess. And then he would picture how like her going in, using his gun to be able to basically break into the haloed cold storage and, you know, force Gideon to be able to release him. You know, that's from his perspective, that would be the happy ending that would always play out inside of his head.
It's just whenever I think I talked about Mr. Robot on the show when we mentioned Unreliable Narrator, and what was the movie we did where that was a big factor? Maybe it was Hereditary or something like that. One of those movies.
No, it was Fight Club. Is
Fight Club?
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Yeah, because that's like a prime example.
Yeah.
The main problem with Unreliable Narrator as a concept is that if you try to claim that that's what you're doing, then that can excuse bad writing. That's an excuse. It can be used as an excuse to go, well, I am hereby claiming unreliable narrator, not because it was intentionally written that way, but because it was unintentionally written that way and just happens to fall directly into the line. So it's incredibly unreliable. It is the purest form of unreliable narrator ever put to film.
Yeah.
That's you know what? I'm back on. That's
there
impressive
you go.
As hell.
There you go.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
You win. There we go.
The unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I think if you edited, you could actually take the movie itself and re-edit it, and I think that's all you'd need without even shooting new scenes and make it make more sense to be an unreliable narrator.
Yeah,
I think there's things you could do to make it work a little bit better, and that would be interesting to see a cut of that if someone would ever do that.
Yeah,
I think that'd be cool.
You damn near get one in its form as it exists right now. So,
yeah,
watch it with this whole idea in mind the next time that you watch Minority Report in the next 10 years.
That kind of gives me a whole different perspective of it because I've never considered that factor, you know, and that does play out a lot differently. I want to look at it as well and see if any of the like lighting or any of the color effects are different in that situation where
we already know that the entire film was bleached, so yeah,
well, also, did we ever get any resolution on like the photos of his kid, right? Were those photos that he already had photos of, or were they new photos that he had never seen?
No, they were already photos that existed, and then just with Leo Crow superimposed over the top of it.
Okay, yeah, because he said they were fake. But I mean, what ultimately, what did we get there? What did happen to his kid? Is it just one of the unknown mysteries? And
yep,
it's precog and
and look, man, this is a thing that I have. I was actually talking to Cody Tucker the other day about the movie that actually Logan and I had a brief conversation about, which is Denzel Washington, Rami Malek's new movie, The Little Things, which you can watch right now on HBO Max. HBO Max, check it out.
There it is.
So, and we had this back and forth about this concept of like true crime. I'm a huge fan of like true crime, like stories, and I listen to a true crime podcast called Case Files. If you guys want to, check out something that is just incredible podcast about just true crime stories, go check it out. It's narrated by this Australian guy, the unknown narrator. He's never revealed his name, never revealed anything about himself. And he keeps his opinions out of the story, which is, in my opinion, the only real way to be able to present true crime. And the thing that I hate about that I hate, love hate, about like true crime stories is if I'm especially like listening to a podcast, I can see the length of the podcast. And I know that if we're 3/4 of the way through the podcast and they haven't exposed who the perpetrator of said crime is, I'm going to be at the end of it going, fuck, I cannot believe they never fucking caught this guy. Or I cannot believe they never solved this shit. And that's just kind of the thing that you're left with the John Anderson's kid being kidnapped, which is that shit just happens, man. And it's so fucking unfortunate. And what's crazy about life is the more that I watch true crime stuff and the more that I listen to true crime podcasts and the more that I read about true crime, and we're just exposed to it every single day, like online, and especially like if you go looking for it, the total amount of unsolved crimes that are committed every single day with no solution is fucking baffling. It does not happen the way that it does in movies. It does not happen the way that it does in TV shows, where at the end of the, what is the fucking Law and Order, you don't get the dunk dunk where they fucking explain to you the comings and goings of how everything solves
Sherlock
itself.
Holmes. Like, well, I solved it, and let me tell you how.
It's not like that, man. It's not like that. And that's so fucking crazy that a guy can be with his son at a swimming pool, public swimming pool, then he goes under the water for less than 15 seconds, and he never sees his son again. And that's just the way shit happens sometimes. And as fucked up as it is, that is a closer representation to, like reality happening inside of a whodunit style, crime drama movie that happens to take place in the future. It's a better representation of that happening than it is done in most movies. And that's the fucked up truth about just reality in general. It's crazy. There is no solution. We never get to figure it out. They never, that big reveal that you thought that you were going to get, that this was Leo Crow and then he was going to be able to solve this entire thing for us. No, it was just a play on his emotions to be able to make him do something emotionally charged so that, it would discredit John Anderton and it would show that true crime worked. That was the pre-crime actually worked. And it's super fucked up that that's the way that it worked itself out. But that's life.
And this idea too, kind of off topic, but somewhat related, about how they're just okay, taking these three people, and putting them in this constant state of torture, and just pretending
constant state of torture,
coming up with things like, well, they don't actually feel anything, and this and that. We sedate them. It's like, that doesn't make it better. Okay,
they don't.
In the sex trafficking world today, people are getting sedated and moved around and all kinds of stuff, and it's like, well,
terrible things happen, and there is no justification that is. And ultimately, that's kind of the way the movie ends up playing out, where there is no justification that is good enough to be able to. Once you see that Agatha's a human being, that she actually has feelings and she actually has emotions, and the whole thing is centered around.
That is something that's different from the original story as
correct.
well.
Yeah. And in the original story, it was supposed to be an army general that he is going to kill. And Whitwer is actually his best friend in the original story. There's a lot of fucking things that are completely different in the original story than they are in the Spielberg movie that we end up getting. But I really feel like they did a good job of being able to show us that the precogs they're just people, man. They're people that, and what's her name? The
plant lady?
The plant lady, yeah.
Well, she says, right? So my understanding of
Dr.
the way
Hanneman.
it worked out was that prior to them understanding precogs and everything, there's the street drug that was being used. Essentially, it was an early vape.
You looking for You looking for new and improved clarity, or
they were taking street drugs, but then of course companies and businesses got in on it and tried to refine it, and it then became up to the point where these parents were taking it so often that whenever they got pregnant, the child would then start to develop the ability to get a higher level of thinking, or because they were taking these fabricated corporate drugs in the womb. So at what point did these children went missing because they were testing these drugs on children. And maybe that's something that happens there with his kid, is that, maybe a precog had a vision that he would be needed to undo the precogs in the future or something like that.
Well, maybe, but
that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
That the whole idea behind like the reason why John Anderton gets into pre-crime to begin with is because his child is stolen. And
right.
Yeah, so maybe they
but
had
we
to
don't
go.
know how long. We don't know how long in the background that they were developing precog or had been testing on children or anything.
Well, we know that had they had the precogs out there in place just 6 months prior, then his son never would have gotten kidnapped. Or, I mean, they would have been able to stop this tragedy from happening. So, and that became the main motivating driving factor for him to be able to get out there and be the head of pre-crime and be the guy who pushes all of this forward, and with such the incredible gusto that he did. Yeah, of course. I mean, who's to say that the one that the knowledge that was going to happen was not the cursor with a precursor for the impetus for his son being kidnapped to begin with. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool thought. I do have one more question, probably before we close it out here soon.
Sure.
So they mentioned that the precogs only could see like serious, like violent crimes, and that's why they had nightmares and things like that.
Crimes of passion.
In the books, it's all crimes. In the story, it's all crimes.
Yep.
But whenever they're walking through the mall, she helps him by knowing the future for all these different things. So I guess, do they also have the ability to see slight, like just general future things as well?
Yes, they do.
Because that's not really explained at all. It's just like
the movie doesn't do a very good job of being able to explain that, but according to the way that the story was originally written, and according to the way that the idea behind it that you just talked about, that's the way that it was supposed to play out. Is they see everything, and it's just a constant feed of information that is going to be either directly linked to them or tied to, I guess, when they're in a catatonic state. Maybe being in the catatonic state has something to do with the way that they can only see like murderers and crimes of passion, things like that.
I'd probably be running brain tests and try to machinify it, automate it. Like take whatever's happening there.
Yep.
Make a machine out of it that can do it better and more consistently. That's the next
This is the
step.
future. This is the future. You think come on, guys, you should have this technology by now.
Yeah. Get your shit together.
Get your shit together.
You guys have anything else you want to mention about Minority Report before we close it on out here?
I think I said this pretty succinctly before, but to kind of just reiterate, it is definitely not my favorite Steven Spielberg story. Damn sure is not the Steven Spielberg tale that I thought that we were going to come in as the first Spielberg movie that we were going to cover on the podcast. And again, it's definitely not his worst piece of work.
I'm just glad it wasn't
what his worst piece of work was.
I can tell you, like, his worst one is probably BFG.
I have not seen BFG, and I like
my least favorite that I do not like to watch and will never watch again is E.T. I don't like E.T. at all.
I
know
E.T.
You're weird.
I know. Get it out of your system. It's just I don't have that nostalgic for it. I don't know. I wasn't into it.
I have a theory about Steven Spielberg, and I believe that Steven Spielberg was abducted by aliens at some point in time, which is
he
why
does like to do movies about them.
Yes, he does. Unnecessarily sometimes. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull being probably the most prime example of, no.
That shit in there.
No, we're gonna have aliens be the end of. By the way, spoiler alert! Spoiler alert, everybody. To anybody that didn't want Kingdom of the Crystal Skull fucking ruined for them, like it's just tried to come in and rape my entire childhood.
Me when I watched it.
Yeah, it just takes one viewing. That's all it does. It takes one viewing, and you're like, fucking aliens. Yeah. Why aliens in this Indiana Jones? Yeah.
You guys are fine with all the mysticism and all the religious texts and all of this,
Yes,
but you bring
totally
in
cool with
aliens.
it. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That's
That
fine.
wasn't my least favorite thing about the movie, though. My least favorite thing about the movie was the fact that Harrison Ford is old as shit.
My least favorite thing about the movie was the fucking driving through the jungle scene and then swinging around on fucking vines like a
that was
bunch
also
of,
bad.
bunch of goddamn
ants and
CG
shit.
monkeys.
So much fun.
Yeah,
It was
like that's
so
my
stupid.
thing. Like I mostly make fun of the aliens for the meme of it. I didn't think it was like, that far away from
I thought it
stupid
was
as
stupid.
Temple of Doom. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
Temple of Doom was stupid.
Right.
Introducing aliens at the end, like the very, very, very end of Crystal Skull, and that's it. That's the solution. That's the fucking payoff that you get. That's like the end all be all of all of the Indiana Jones movies is going to be aliens. Ugh,
but again,
I
no,
was so
I'd rather
disappointed.
watch Crystal Skull than E.T. I just would.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
you
You're wrong.
you're probably
you need to go. You need to
probably
go
right.
back.
I'm
and
not even
watch
going to
it.
dispute that. The thing is like when I was growing up, my dad is a big nerd, so I watched a lot of nerdy movies, and so I watched like Alien and shit before I watched E.T. And so when I watched Alien,
I watched Alien through Alien 3 the other day. Go ahead.
and then you show me fucking E.T. I'm like, oh, this shit's stupid. This shit's dumb. I don't care about this. Where's my fucking out the chest?
Okay.
You know,
okay.
you know what I'm saying? It's just, it was I.
You
I've
like
been,
crazy, violent alien, not passive technology alien. Gotcha.
Exactly. So and that a lot of that was because my dad was a big nerd. So growing up, I watched a lot of stuff long before a lot of my friends did, and so I'll give you an example. I started playing World of Warcraft in 2005 when it came out, and then I got
Okay.
my own account in 2006. And around that time, my friends were just starting to learn about like open world games, and they started playing RuneScape. And so they were like,
That's
"Do you
what
want
I'm
to come play
talking about.
RuneScape?" And so I was like, "Okay." And I get on there, and you know what? RuneScape, it's a great game, but when the first MMO that you ever played, not counting because I did play like EverQuest and some small stuff. But the first game that you ever play as an MMO is World of Warcraft, and then you go to RuneScape, it makes it look a lot worse. That's just kind of the experience that I had with some of these movies, and I think that's why it explains why some of these I just never really got into as much because I was shown kind of the newer thing first, and as a kid,
You should go
Maybe
back from an adult perspective and watch E.T. from the vantage point of Elliot. Forget
I
about.
don't know, I've tried.
Forget about
it's-
E.T.
I don't know. It just gets on my nerves. Anytime
Think
I
of
see
it-
something with ET, it just
E.T.
gets on
is
my
just
nerves.
like it's an entire pop culture movie. Like if
I
you're
know.
like
I would rather watch a ton of other Spielberg movies than ET. I just would.
I got you. I understand.
It's. I'm not saying it's bad.
Go watch-
I'm
go
not
watch
saying it's
Close
bad.
Encounters.
Let me get that out of the way. I'm not trying to say that it's a bad movie.
You
I
just
just
don't
don't
like it.
enjoy it as much.
I gotcha.
And
Understand.
I know I'm wrong for that. Like I'm not even trying to be a dick about it. I know I'm wrong on this one. It is what it is. But I'm wrong. It's fine. I'm okay
Yep.
being wrong sometimes.
Yeah, go back and
yeah, it
watch
is
Close
what it is.
Encounters. Go back and watch. I mean,
Close
look,
Encounters is
I like-
trippy.
I like Close Encounters.
Close Encounters is such a good movie. I've seen it so many times.
It's
Jaws,
like 6 hours long as well.
incredible. Close Encounters is incredible. Yeah, I mean, even without E.T., you still get Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like the fucking the color purple. And I guess this is going to kind of segue into kind of how I wanted to be able to end this podcast. And I know that we don't have Mr. Austin Newell here with us right now, but just to kind of segue into what are we going to do moving forward on the next episode. I did want to kind of start thinking about things, and this is what I'm going to propose for you guys. We are in the middle of, I shouldn't say the middle of, we're at the beginning of February right now. February is, in the United States, at least it is known as Black History Month. And I would like to focus a little bit on bringing a little bit of color to the podcast. making it a little bit more culturally diverse, and allow us to be able to speak about a movie that's, I mean, maybe The Color Purple. Me personally, I was leaning more towards something a little bit more recent.
I was thinking maybe Black Klansman.
Black Klansman is incredible.
You guys seen that?
Yep.
I have it, but I've not watched it.
I'd like to watch
Boys
that
in the
one
Hood.
again. I actually didn't watch all of it. I never actually finished watching it. It's John David Washington again, so we watched him with Tenet.
Yeah.
And,
I told Tyler this before, but I'm definitely down for Black Dynamite.
Dynamite.
I love Black Dynamite. But no, I think Black Klansman would be interesting.
Black Klansman is good. To taking it a little bit to the serious side of that, Boys in the Hood, incredible movie. If you want to go from John David Washington to his father, you can go back to Denzel Washington and his very first Oscar, which is Glory. Incredible movie.
I haven't watched that in a long time.
Or if you want to see another incredible job of Denzel Washington, watch a little bit of Malcolm
X.
Yeah,
that's another one.
So,
really,
I don't know, just a little bit of something to think about.
Movie and go with it.
Yeah.
Just about. I don't know. That's a good question. There's a lot of good movies we could watch out there.
A lot of incredible movies that are out there.
We could even do like Get Out. That could be one that we could do as well.
Yeah.
Even though I could understand if you wanted something that focuses a little bit more.
I mean, Selma.
Selma's an incredible movie. Yeah.
Selma's great. Man. Yeah.
I know.
How about we don't announce anything officially on the show here?
That's what I was saying. And we kind of put it up to a vote, and then we can get into this.
Now, a great way for you guys at home to learn what we're going to do ahead of time.
Hey,
if you know what I'm saying, is to go check out podcastmoviepodcast.com and go hit up our social media websites where we have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Super active on Facebook, ones. Super active on Twitter right now. So,
and hopefully we'll get a message out there somewhere for you guys, and you'll know what we're doing at least a few days ahead of time. Also, again, sorry we had a weird schedule for this week as far as when things are coming out.
It's my fault.
In order to give it back, we got you 2 episodes this week. So look at that. I think we're good though here. I think we're done.
Awesome. Cool.
All right, guys.
Nice.
Ruben.
Fun.
Hey, you ready to go cowboy up?
Yeah, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to grab some water.
Yeah.
Let's go cowboy up, guys.
I gotta go get some more bourbon. And then I'll pass you up on in there.
All right, guys.
We've got a couple cowboys already in the Discord that are waiting on us as well.
There you go. We'll jump right in there.
All right, boys. Let's ride.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We appreciate you listeners and enjoy reading your feedback. Drop us a line at podcastmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website at podcastmoviepodcast.com, where you can find all the links to our social media, as well as links to all the major podcasting platforms. If you can subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast listening platform, it really helps us to be able to spread the word. Again, thanks for listening. See you next week.